that I sort of look at life sort of as a highway, if you will. All right, and that highway has guardrails on it. Now you can go straight down the middle of the highway. That's staying in the system and using everything about the system, building your relationships within the system and all that. And those are the people that they go to school, they do well in school, they go to work for a big company, they do well for a big company. They might even kind of spin out and actually start a company and then do well again. But they're always staying in what I'll call the middle of the road. They accept the system and have always and honored the system, so therefore they have sort of membership in the system, if you will. So the system recognizes them. Then there's guys like me who are what I call just inside the guardrails guy. Yeah. So I don't want to really be in the system. Yeah. I want it to be a little different. I want to sort of run my own path and not run down the middle of the road. I want to run just outside the middle of the road. Now, that means that I don't get the leverage of the system. Yeah. That means that everything that I do is sort of on my back. And that is a hard road, but it's something that I don't think I chose. I think it's the way God made me. There was several times in my 23 years as an angel investor that I said, this is really, if it's all about sort of making money at lower risk, is I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I should join a venture capital firm. Right. So that I'm actually leveraging off the system, which is other people's money, while I'm doing this, and getting paid while I'm doing it as a salary with great incentives. I could have gone into private equity, which would have done the same thing, but even a bigger game, that had a better lifestyle. But I felt like I was called to do what I was doing, as hard as it was and as risky as it was, because that's just who I am. I'm just going to be that guy that, to put it a different way, is I don't know that I'm the guy that robs banks, but I think I'm maybe more the guy that sort of is that cop, that Pacino cop that's sort of just on the outside. Nobody likes to work with him. Yeah. And his girlfriends don't even like him, because he does what he does. But it's so that's the same thing with.
So you find yourself more in the Pacino role than Pacino role versus the De Niro role.
Yeah, I'm not, because the De Niro role is the guy that's he runs, in my metaphor, he would run outside the guardrails. Now, when you're outside the guardrails, you are outside the system, looking in. So you're looking for a way to game the system.
Interesting.
All right, and that's illegal.
That's different.
So it's super dangerous outside the guardrails.
Well, but you have some people like that, like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank. Would you say you're Andy, or would you say you're Red in that film? Because Andy is definitely gaming the system, right? Would you say he's more like Pacino, or would you say he still is kind of in that guardrail?
I'd say he is absolutely. I think he is a straight down the middle guy.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because he, in fact, used all of the system.
Interesting. Okay.
To get himself off.
Okay. That's an interesting picture. Okay.
So he leveraged everything in the system to not only get out of prison, but he was a little outside the guardrails, obviously, get out, because he had to escape through that sewer pipe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But all his revenge was right
system.
Down the middle in the system revenge.
Ah, that's a good way to look at it. Okay, so now let's move over to The Godfather then. What would you say with that? Because you have a system in place. You have Michael, who is kind of inheriting his dad's system. Where would you? I'm assuming you probably would relate to Michael, maybe in that film, the son, or would you relate to any other character?
Yeah, I think the character that I related to most was more the Godfather.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, than any of them, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, so he's basically, he was a guy that was really right down the middle as far as the system went. But the system was
changing
was almost was this criminal sort of system that was put in place.
Yeah.
It was sort of the honor among thieves system.
Exactly. Yeah.
And remember when everything sort of blew up in The Godfather.
Right.
Was when he wouldn't go with the younger guys who wanted to bring in drugs and destroy families.
Yeah.
He wasn't all about that.
Yeah, there was integrity.
He had his level of integrity, and it almost got him killed.
Yeah. Yeah. So
but
see
Michael, on the other hand, he stayed out. But once he was in, whatever went, it was all about the money at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Money and power.
Yeah. Yeah, you have Amadeus on your top 10, which is on my top 10 too. And I know Amadeus for me is a very cautionary tale for me, and it really hits it hits a nerve as far as a lot of my kind of baggage and sin that I can fall into. Why do you pick Amadeus on your top 10?
Well, tell me a little more about the baggage and sin, so I'm kind of connecting with you.
Yeah, well, it's not as important that you connect with me, but I can tell you my story, which is, for me, I relate to Salieri, who is, wanting God to use him, right, in a big way, and he's going to glorify God if God chooses him to be this, musician and use his talents, to glorify him. And really he's about glorifying himself and having the platform. And here comes Mozart comes along, and he's this profane object that God has put his hand on and said, I'm going to use this profane object and not you. And I think the thing that hits me strongest is Salieri says, he gave me the eyes to see that. It would have been different if he hadn't given me the eyes to see that God's hand was on him. And oftentimes I think when I fall into, baggage and sin in my life, it's just really coveting the Mozarts, the people who've been chosen, and going, well, why did God choose those profane people or something like that? I don't do that as much in my older age, but I think in my younger age, that was really my attitude was, I want to be chosen. I'm going to glorify you, God, if you choose me. And really, what's inside of that is just me wanting to glorify myself, So that's my unpacking of Amadeus. But how about you? Why is it on your top 10?
I'm the same way. I don't think it was the character is not Amadeus, but the character really is Salieri.
Yeah.
So it's never sort of measuring up, sort of being that A player kind of a deal, So you always feel like, my God, look at these. It starts early in sports. You see how facile some of these movements are to some people in baseball or football and everything else, and you're trying your best, and you'll never get there.
Yeah.
You could practice every day and never get to be the best of the best, and the best of the best seem to not even they take it for granted.
Yeah.
That they have these gifts. They don't understand why can't everybody throw a ball from center field to home plate. Yeah. Without it hitting the ground. That doesn't make any sense to them.
It just comes so naturally, yeah.
Yeah, it's so natural to them. So it's always been in that. So I think I liked it. What disturbed me is how he tried to destroy Amadeus, So it's sort of what you have to do is, what I have to do is I have to guard against and say, love them for who they are and what they do, and to see that God has made somebody that good, and help them, to even succeed more. Now, this, of course, came later in life, as you're talking about.
Yeah.
But earlier, what you had to do is make sure you didn't act on those sort of impulses to destroy them in any way or get in their way, because I knew that was sort of an empty road to go down.
Yeah. And I know your story is in investing in a lot of young guys, and in really kind of choosing to be very involved in their development as businessmen and as the people that you invest into. And I know lately I read your blogs. You've really gotten into writing and kind of passing down a lot of your knowledge, which is really benefiting, I imagine, a lot of people. If you read Charlie's blogs, you would really be overwhelmed by just the level of each blog being so much really great wisdom that comes from practical day-to-day knowledge.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so I'm looking here at Good Will Hunting, which is such a mentor character.
It's not so much younger people,
Yeah.
The people I really invested in, it was interesting as you say that. People think about angel investing and that you're investing in entrepreneurs that are 22 years old. You know? The average age of the entrepreneur that I invested in was really between 36 and 38.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's now moved into early 40s. Okay,
Huh.
and it really is investing in people that were at the same stage I was
I see.
in my Jerry Maguire moment.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Finding those people who are leaving the system.
but they know the system. They've
know the
established
system.
credibility.
Okay.
They have a network that they can work with.
Got it.
They have the credibility to build something on their own.
Yeah.
It's not like a Jerry Maguire gets out of school and says, "I always wanted to be in the sports business,"
Yeah.
and doesn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
No, I like the people that are in that sort of change in life, and that's why I say is to take experienced entrepreneurs or experienced managers and help them achieve their dream of becoming an entrepreneur.
That's strong. That's really strong. That's
more my
you
position.
identifying the Jerry Maguires right at that moment of
Right.
manifesto and saying, I can help them
Or
turn
encourage
this-
them that it's okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's okay. And it's okay not to know what's next. And it's okay that it's going to be scary. And it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And maybe I can provide a little bit of a safety net for you. But ultimately, you're going to have to step out on this one.
Interesting. So talk to me about Good Will Hunting then, because that's definitely a relationship between a kind of a mentor character, a younger guy, and he's kind of helping him find his place. Will doesn't have a sense of the establishment at all, right? I mean, he doesn't understand the establishment yet. He's kind of just the blue collar guy who's just has the Amadeus kind of Mozart gifting, right? Do you find yourself identifying more with Will, or do you find yourself identifying more with Sean Robin Williams' character?
I don't know. That was I don't know that I agree with it. I think Will does know the system.
Oh, interesting.
And he detests the system.
Okay.
He thinks it's a joke.
Yeah.
Just what he says remember when he solves the math equation, sets it on fire.
Yeah.
And he says, this is what you devote your life to. This is just ridiculous. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you see him as kind of breaking the system too. He's an Andy Dufresne. He knows the system to work the system. He knows how to do the math.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's smart enough. It's just there's also that bar scene. Remember when that guy tries to pick up the girl that he falls in love with, for love at first sight, and he just rips the guy on who he's quoting, why he's quoting, the classes that he took to learn this, and how absolutely ridiculous and puny this guy looks,
right,
when he's exposed. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
exposing the system, because
Yeah.
that guy was purely using the system, but he was using it as a weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what I think, Will Hunting hated.
Yeah.
And then he found out because the system didn't treat him right. I mean, he was right. He had the system was you're supposed to have a loving mother and father, and he had a father that would just beat him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he wound up being an orphan and just sent to foster homes,
Foster
right?
homes, yeah.
So the system was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Not something that could be relied on.
Yeah.
Even though he had this massive intellect,
Yeah. I guess one of the things I'm hearing in what you're saying, though, is that there is a maturity somewhere along the path that it sounds like you've reached where the system or the establishment you kind of look at and go, there's a value in really kind of coming back to it. Is that true?
No, I think it is true, and it's in all of these movies that you see that. I mean, particularly we're talking about Good Will Hunting. I mean, ultimately what happens is it Sean? Is that the psychiatrist?
Robin Williams, yeah.
Yeah, he basically says, look, you're standing outside the system. I understand why you're doing it, but it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault, not your fault. And so he finally says, it's okay to sort of fall in line a little bit and be part of the system.
Tell me about your spiritual journey from that standpoint. I know that you grew up Catholic, which is a huge system, right? And then tell me about that journey of, like we've been talking about this whole time, of establishment to kind of coming out of the middle of the highway to being right next to the guardrail, to understanding what it looks like on the other side of the guardrail to just kind of rail the system, right, or try to upend the system. To then now what you're saying is kind of coming back to understanding and appreciating that middle of the road too, Did that mirror your spiritual journey at all?
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to do is, there was when I went through 12 years of parochial school. So I mean, I understand the theology and the doctrine of the Catholic Church, but I understood it more from a systemic standpoint, okay, as opposed to understanding it really from a biblical standpoint. So whatever was told to me by the system is what I sort of believe.